Welcome to the racing grudge match of the decade.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Underrated Podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss the films we feel are underrated, underappreciated, or the ones that have just slipped under the radar and passed most people by. This show is a collaboration of friends comprised of Alan and Fred Torres,
Hey.
Ariel and Sergio Ortiz,
Hi.
Hi.
and of course me, Derek McDuff. Today we're going to be talking about Rush, a 2013 film directed by Ron Howard based on the real-life rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda, starring Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Brühl. Despite positive reviews, the film underperformed, wow, I can talk today, at the domestic box office and was completely ignored at the Academy Awards. So, guys, this is my suggestion. I was, I think, the only one who had seen this movie before. So what did you guys think of the movie coming into it?
No, I've seen it too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I very much was excited to rewatch it. I really liked the, of course, the actors of the leads, Hemsworth, and then my personal choice that rightly should have won the best villain of the MCU debate of Baron Zemo oh my gosh, I'm blanking the name. Daniel Brühl. Yeah, Daniel Brühl. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, for me, I enjoyed it the second time around, of course, of this story of a rivalry and what having an enemy means to a person and how it could shape, what happens in your life in a way, and how it shapes you, and in this case of how it could shape you for the best and for the worst, and bring out the best and the worst out of you.
Yeah.
Going into this, seeing it, hearing about and looking at the actors that are in it, especially with the title like Rush and with a director like Ron Howard, I thought it was just going to be like a kind of Hollywoody, action-y movie, intense movie, but it was still a little bit of that, but the story at the base is very interesting, and the characters are very interesting, and the actors themselves pull it off a lot. A lot of the problems that I had were very directorial. A lot of the editing was just and then the music choices and how they were used in the movie were just it felt very generic, and
very generic.
Yeah,
It was kind of trying to replicate like the feel of you watching like actual sports in the 70s,
I'm sure that.
And I feel like even the color palette was like very washed out, like it would be like watching old footage.
It's very like post-contemporary like action-y movie stuff. Like, so I think they could have, if that's what they were going for, they could have done a lot better. And then a lot what I felt like was just it's a very interesting story and rivalry that I thought if it was in the hands of another director, it could have been a lot better. And because if it was handled more passionately, if this was somebody's passion project, it could have been like really, really great. But it's okay. It's a good movie. Yeah.
I actually think in my opinion, it's Ron Howard's best movie. Like, I would say it's better than like Apollo 13. I fucking love this movie. I'd say it's his best
Da
movie.
Vinci Code?
Angels and Demons?
Angels and Demons. Obi-Wan Kenobi?
So yeah, that's why with a track record like that, I would have loved to see what another director would have done with this kind of project.
I actually really liked this movie. I had a great time with it. I had heard about it. I knew it was like kind of right off when Chris Hemsworth was getting big because of Thor.
Yeah, it was right
and
after
Avengers,
Thor.
Like right
I
after
think it
all
was
that.
pretty much his first big movie after Thor.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, it came out. And I'm not a big biopic guy. I usually only watch like the music ones because I'm more of a music guy other than sports. So, when Derek recommended it, I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. I like Chris Hemsworth. And yeah, I was surprised. I was like, whoa. Like, as soon as I started the movie, I was like, okay, here we go. I was worried it was going to be slow and had to introduce everybody, but he just got fucking right into it, dude. It was a big time rush right into the movie. And I just had a great time. Like, I love the rival. I'm a competitive guy in general. Like, I love playing fighting games and stuff. And when you find that rival, especially because like I love playing Dragon Ball Fighters, and there was a while where I had a friend of mine, Fred knows him as well, Yoakum. We would play it like every night, and
Shout
it was
out to Joachim.
Joachim, the best.
Nacho.
Yeah. We'd play and like we'd be fighting, and like there was one night where he was better. He was just way better because he trained a little bit more. And then the next night he's like, "What the fuck? How do you get better than me?" And like it was always constant. So I love that aspect. I love rivalry stuff like that. Like this movie, more I think about it, I loved it. Like it was great. Both actors were good. I mean, I felt like Chris Hemsworth, he had a great performance, but I felt it was just too easy for him. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, there were scenes
right?
where he kind of did, where they tried something new. It was later on in the movie where he kind of derived off of that character, but yeah, I feel like if they spent a little bit more time where he was not acting like that, and to show some kind of character change.
Yeah, it was just too like
he doesn't grow a lot. I mean, he does a little bit.
Yeah.
He does a little.
I think another thing, the pacing too.
Like Arrow
the pacing doesn't do a good job
guys,
in showing that either.
Have you guys seen Russian Doll on Netflix?
Yes, I love that show.
It was a good show. The main actress, her role. That's what I kind of say is the thing I felt with Chris Hemsworth. It was too just. They slid in way too easily, where it just didn't feel believable anymore.
Really?
Like Russian Doll, that was my big gripe with it. She was great, but it just felt so like she slid into it so easily, and it was just way too catered for her. Where I was just kind of like, I don't really
she
care.
She kind of created the show for herself.
That's another big thing with it, but
that's her real voice.
Yeah, but it was just so fucking there. But anyways, yeah, the whole thing with Rush, performances were great. Daniel Brühl stole the show for me. I love this performance. But yeah, what do you think, Fred?
All right. It's a good movie. I liked it. I didn't think I was going to like it. All right. I'm going to be real. It's a good movie. Now, I just feel they did go a little simplistic on just the rivalry part and the racing part. In the sense of like, they like Chris Hemsworth, they just made him too aloof. He never fucking changes.
That's what
give
I'm
your
saying.
background of that you are very much a cars.
Yeah, I'm a very big car enthusiast. Like huge. Like
he does have some changes.
Like, but
he does grow.
No, but
kind of. But then at the end, at the end montage ruined it. Yeah.
They're trying to cement that he was just gonna be the playboy. That was it. And I honestly, I don't really know.
At least on the surface, but they could have done that a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm saying, like I don't know if that's
the last scene between the two.
Like I'm saying,
what I mean.
I don't know if that's some kind of
that
last scene is what I'm saying. Where I'm like, hey, it could be a stylistic choice for the movie that you want to keep them separate the whole time, so that way you focus in on each of them. I don't know if that's truly how it was in real life.
But I think they did take some liberties.
Yes.
What I believe what they were going for is kind of to show like what the public saw, what he wanted to like come off as, and then what him and Niki had between them.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like when you see the picture montage at the end,
that it seemed like they were more
friends, because when you have a
well,
rival,
at least acquaintances.
In the movie they make it seem like you're enemies.
In the movie they did exaggerate. I did read up on a little bit. They did exaggerate the rivalry
a lot because if
purposes.
you were in that kind of sports scene, if you're in that stuff, rivals is one thing, but enemies is another, and they keep harping on that they're enemies. Yeah. And I'm saying the movie is good. These are small little nitpicks that I think could have maybe put it over the top for me, because when you have a rivalry, especially like in motorsports and things like that, you have a rival, you're chasing that number one flag, but that doesn't mean that you're going to want to destroy the other guy. And that's why when you see he was like, I wanted to write you a letter, that made sense to me in that part, where I'm like, okay, that kind of stuff makes sense. It's how a rivalry would work, where you would be like, hey buddy.
But they did respect each other. Like it was like a rivalry, but like with respect. Like when
it's not until the
end.
No. Even in the when the reporter calls out Niki Lauda, he's like, "Oh, how's your wife?" And he beats the
but
shit
that's
out
at
of that
the
reporter.
End.
No, that's like the middle of the movie.
No, but I'm saying that's more on Chris Hemsworth's side.
Yeah,
him showing that part of himself, not the other guy. The Lauda guy was constantly going like, well, this is how it is. This is what's got to be. We're enemies.
Rules got to be
rules. Well, they slowly came to respect each other through the course of the movie.
I think at the end when he gives his monologue and he goes, after he stopped racing, after we stopped, I understood what I had, is what it seems like. But during the movie, there's a kind of a, but that's what I'm saying. It makes it seem like they make him two separate guys. Like 100%, so that way you can see from each perspective.
They're completely differing, theologies.
And like I said, and it's not, that doesn't detract from the movie. All I'm saying is the way that they said the rivalry was for enemies and stuff was where I'm like, no, a rivalry should be a rivalry, and there still should be some kind of friendship.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think that this isn't exactly really a biopic. I mean, it is, but still, it's just the liberties that this movie takes
Every
that
biopic
fit
takes
into a
liberties,
genre.
though.
Oh, yeah, they
Yeah,
have
but
to.
I just
Yeah, they
wish
have
that
to.
it doesn't
Like
have
they took
to.
a lot less liberties
Like
than honestly
even
most biopics.
like even the racing parts weren't really in depth. They weren't too crazy. I mean, it's very
Well, I mean,
simple
when
for
you have
people.
a movie that's like 2 hours
Well,
long,
no, but I'm saying,
then
like,
maybe the
I don't-
races don't have to have so much.
No,
of a
but
focus.
I'm saying as a motorsports guy and as a movie about 2 racers, I assumed that was going to get somewhat more of their like in race kind of life they lived. When I wasn't getting that, I was actually getting their life story with them just being racers.
Yeah, this was more of a drama.
Yeah.
With set in the background of racing, of Formula One racing, and yeah. So if you are like a big car enthusiast, this isn't like the movie that you're expecting.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
'Cause,
don't expect specs and all
Yeah,
that
no.
stuff.
like I just watched that movie, the Billie Jean King movie, Battle of the Sexes. And there was not that much tennis in the movie. I still loved the movie.
Yeah, the
but me
movie's
being
so
a
good.
really big tennis fan, I was like expecting there to
A
be more
little bit
tennis.
more,
There was not. It didn't diminish the movie at
No,
all.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
But it was
That's what I'm
still.
saying.
It was.
But it's still something that you go. It could have
as
maybe.
a tennis fan, that's what I was thinking.
but
And
yeah,
it just ended
no,
up
it's
not
still
being that.
important to have some kind of aspect with racing. And then, like,
but
I
they
know,
did.
I
They
understand.
do.
They did.
It's
They
very
did, but I
minimal.
just wish that it was
Now
done
for like a
better,
person
and
that's
then because when I say done better, it's just because it's like sometimes it's just done in super quick, over stylized montages. Where
well,
it's just like,
yeah,
well,
that's what I'm
They
saying.
can't show every single race.
I know, but then also that's another thing too. I wish the style matched the way it was shot because it was kind of shot flat, and a lot of the style relied on the post editing, and that's something that
it did a good job because it evoked that like 1970s TV kind of feel. Like,
yeah, but it was still shot flat, and that's the thing that I disagree with a lot. Or either flat or like with the shaky cam action-y, like generic. I mean, except for the parts that were in Italy, those were pretty cool. But I feel like that's more location than the actual way it was shot too.
Well, let me get into it real fast because obviously, I absolutely adore this movie, and I'm glad you guys, for the most part, enjoyed it too. Because Alan kind of brought this up that usually sport biopics they're not great, but I think the big distinction is that music biopics usually I'm not a fan of. Music biopics, they're very, very formulaic. They don't really work. Whereas sports biopics, I think, are great. Sports biopics work. The reason is because a sports biopic, it has like an end. In this movie, there's a season that they're trying to get to the end of it. Music biopics, a lot of times they don't know where to end.
And they also take
they've gotta,
super heavy liberties.
Exactly.
Too.
They've got to be like, okay, we've got to come up with a thing that's going to end the movie. Let's just move the Live Aid concert here. Let's do this.
Like
Let's do
Bohemian
that.
Rhapsody. That was a big
concert.
thing. Bohemian Rhapsody's climax was like, and the end of Freddie Mercury's career was Live Aid. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
and you don't have to really invent like a finale for that because sports naturally have a finale. So that's why sports biopics work so well as opposed to other, especially music biopics. And I think this one was really interesting because it's really a biopic about two people. It's like a biopic about competition. And I think the movie does a really good job of making you, a lot of movies like this, you would root for one person and root against the other person, but you're really kind of rooting for both of them.
Yeah,
you really
that's
like
something that I do
both
appreciate.
characters.
I like what you don't agree.
No, I don't agree. No, because I bet you I'm gonna be the different one. But I went for Chris Hemsworth character in this movie, and I understand that like the Lauda character was meticulous and this and that, but for the way they took the approach, one was more mechanical, scientific, and the other one had like the heart of a racer. You put your life on the line. You're out there no matter what. Even though the car's engineered 100% and everything's awesome, at any moment you can die. That's why you see him throw up every time before he goes out on a race, because he knows this could be his last. Every time he sees a guy walk out of that thing on a stretcher or messed up, he throws up because he knows that could be him at any moment. At any one of these moments that they go, he's done. And Lauda instead, he goes, no, it's only 20%, danger. Anything higher than that, and you won't see me do it.
And that's
You
why
won't see
they
me-
have
Which is
that
funny because I
rivalry,
actually
though.
rooted for Niki Lauda. Like, he was my guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm
'Cause,
saying.
like,
That's what I was thinking.
Like, for me, I was rooting. Don't get me wrong, I was rooting for both of them, but at the same time, I was like Niki Lauda. I just liked his whole like he had a passion too. Like, he had a passion for racing, but he was just more like detailed, more meticulous. Where like he's like, you're not practicing. you need to take the race. You
But,
need to go around the track and all that. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Of
But
course.
that's-
Like, you need to train.
That's why it's good to see like those two kinds of personalities clash. That's what's going back to what Derek said. Yeah, you kind of see these from both sides of the story, and that's why I think it's really cool that you get to experience both sides, and even their own. Each of them have their own narration.
But I think where you're bringing up the practice part that you need to practice is like towards the end of his thing. At that point, once he became champion, he basically decided, I'm not doing this anymore.
I think
He's talking about
Niki
Lauda.
No, Lauda was talking to Chris Hemsworth
Yeah.
at the end, right? When they were both talking and saying, well, I'll see you on the track. You need to race. You need to practice. And he's like, nah.
No, but
He
was
like-
always so meticulous and like
No,
gotta have,
Yeah,
Like,
no,
Niki
no,
was
but
more
I
like- he
think
was
that comes down to the once again the
difference.
clashing of mentality
Yeah.
where Nikki felt like it's an ongoing thing. Like, okay, well, we gotta go to the next one, and the next one, and that's where he got his
'cause
satisfaction.
Nikki-
whereas
Niki was
Hemsworth,
100% in the meticulousness of how a car is built. Also,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Hey, this car is too tall. This is too heavy. This is every." He
Exactly.
took the meticulous part of it. The racing part, he already basically said like, "I'm good." His race times to get faster was to build a car better. Because the way he saw himself, this is the way I saw it, as both of them as racers. He saw himself as the most best driver out of everybody. He goes, I'm going to build the best car to now push myself even higher.
yeah,
Because if the car is shitty, even though I'm a good driver, it's still going to be shit. And that's why Chris Hemsworth tells him, if I had the same car at the same footing as you, I would be the better driver than you.
I think
That's what he was trying to sell him. And that's why, because he goes, you're driving a Ferrari now. I'm driving, the car that I'm driving that kept breaking down. He told him, if I had a car like you, I would beat you.
But I think that's where it comes down to. But going back to like the different mentality, whereas Chris Hemsworth, his satisfaction was of that being of the winner. So that's why once he won, he's like, I've accomplished what I needed
that was
to do.
it.
That was
Because
it.
he said, once I'm a champion, I'm a champion.
Well, that's what I think is great, is because you guys are having this debate. Like, you Fred, like what's his name, Hunt,
James Hunt.
yeah, and Alan, you like Niki
My
Lauda,
boy, Niki.
and I was rooting for both of them, and you could go into this movie and find reasons to root for both of them. Like, you can both of your guys' points are very valid.
That's true. I really appreciate what they did with the characters and even the performances too. Just
Yeah.
Chris-
Oh my god.
Yeah, but
Chris
I'm
Hemsworth-
still,
yeah,
I'm
you're right,
still
going
gonna
back
go
to-
with though.
yeah,
I'm
saying,
still
like,
gonna go with they
Chris
are a
Hemsworth.
little over exaggerated on what they're doing. Like, I'm not taking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
let's not take away the discussion of two people. What I'm saying is they kind of went a little too far on the drama.
Yeah.
Because let's be
I
real.
disagree. I liked it. I thought it was
No,
fucking
no,
great.
but no. I mean, you could have done good drama. Like I'm not saying it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I feel like they pushed the envelope on some of these things a little far.
I think, yeah,
Right, like what, though?
rewatching it and it being 2 hours, I felt like they could have, because they kind of like doubled down on a good amount of that.
Because there's a banter and the fight back and forth, and I see that, but it always seems like they had to, like, how can I put
like
it?
wrestler drama.
Yeah, like
Like,
they
turn
had
up
to
the
like
heat.
in the movie
I don't know about that.
because you have the moments where they could have. It seemed like
Like, I know, Fred. You gotta. I don't.
I disagree with you because
Mm-hmm.
it was 2 hours long, and a lot of the times I was bored. So if what you were saying was true, I would most likely not be bored because I would just be saying.
well, no,
this
I'm saying
drama.
no, because what I'm saying is it's unnecessary sometimes.
Yeah.
'Cause there were times where it seemed like they could have fixed it.
argument over
And over again. Where there were times where all of a
Which
sudden
sucks
it seems like they were
because-
going to come back together and you could work it out.
And
They
then
wouldn't, and they'd have to keep
something
going
happens.
again to
Which is like
because if not,
because-
then the movie ends. It's
Yeah.
only a movie by racing.
I think it
The
worked.
movie is
I was
2
never,
hours
There was never a
long.
point where I felt that
No,
way.
don't get me wrong. Like I say, not a terrible movie.
No, I know,
Like,
I know, but I know
but
you always
do
you
feel-
always find a thing to nitpick and all the things we do.
Yeah.
But like for me, that wasn't even a nitpick.
No, and it's not a nitpick. I'm just saying like it could have pushed it for me over the top.
Yeah, but for me, like personally, like
Yeah.
I was not bothered by any of that. Like I thought like I was totally invested in like all the anytime
But-
they come back and forth, I was like these two ideologies are just crashing, and I love to like see like who's gonna come out on top.
Yeah, but besides just going in ourselves, circle.
Circle.
Well, yeah, but not only did it mess up the pacing with the length of being 2 hours, but yeah, it also just made it feel fake on top of the way it was shot, on top of the way it was edited, on top of the way it was directed. Really, the only thing that was holding it up for me was the writing and the performances.
Well, what I really love about the movie is it basically, and this is the same thing that the movie First Man did, which is another really good underrated movie. Is it kind of like asks like, what is
Whoa. First Man?
Yeah.
That's very recent, and I don't think it's
I think it didn't make a lot of money.
Ryan Gosling did not get an Oscar.
Yeah, no, it didn't get
so
nominated for anything.
that's why it's not
Wait, which one was
underrated.
it?
That's why it's underrated.
It didn't get nominated for Best Picture, a lot of stuff. First Man, but it didn't make a lot of money either. So, anyway.
Bruh. Anyway,
before I was so rudely interrupted. Just kidding. So it's ask the question of, like, what's the cost of greatness? You want to be truly great. What do you risk?
That's true, and it's different for both of them.
Exactly.
Which I really,
He's like,
that's
I'll
part,
take the 20% chance risk.
Really interesting. That's what I think this movie should really.
Okay, but here's where I go with that. He said he was going to take the 20% risk, right? But
Yeah.
yet he still rides in the rain when he could have just stepped off.
Because that's where.
I know that's a rivalry, and I know that's a rivalry, and that's a competing.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm going. Like, but you're going up against your own thing, saying like you basically your own moral code, your own ideals. You throw them on the side.
And that's where the basis and the core of
I
this
get that.
movie.
But then at that point, when he does that, is when the explosion happens. It's when he burns. It's when all this shit happens.
That's
where you would think, like, it seemed like Chris Hemsworth was going to be like, oh shit, I need to reach out to this guy, because you would probably in real life, he probably did reach out to him.
I think that's
but instead here,
but in the movie, it's the subtext. He does kind of like relate to him there. He beats up the reporter there. He kind of like starts to realize
this is I'm talking about before the reporter.
But he's still,
I'm just saying it seemed like he wanted to go reach out to him, but that's where I'm going with, like, if you were to reach out, right, and you were to fix things at that point, would then it really be a movie?
They have that whole scene.
No,
where
I think what like for me in that point, I feel like it should have, which probably was, I don't know the real story, but I think it would have. This is what actually happened in the real story, is that when that happened, they had more of a camaraderie, and going into that final couple of races to end the season, they were more of like rivals instead of enemies, like you said.
That since we don't know, like, we truly don't know what happened.
I
We
don't
can
care
only
what really happened. Like, I'm not okay. Honestly, I don't care what really happened. I care about, like, we're talking about the movie and like how well of a movie.
Yeah. So for the
that-
movie, then if we're going in the story of the movie, I feel like that would have been a better progression of a movie, that you have progression of a characters that
did happen. Because he goes up to him and he has that whole speech where he's like, it's your fault that I'm chasing you. It's like, it's your fault that I got injured, but it's also your fault that I got out of that bed so quickly. I watched you on the screen
and that was a great,
all these times,
and
now that's why I was able to. You put me in the hospital, but you also got me out of it because of the rivalry.
But then by the next race, you have them bickering like enemies again.
No, it's not like they're like.
Well, no,
it's like a
I
friendly
the next
rivalry.
race, like the final race in Japan, because he walks away from that.
Yeah.
So that shows that he had
grew.
some.
He supposedly grew.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but that speech where he goes, I'm out of the hospital because of you, and I grew in this and this and that. At the same time he's having that speech, it's also a little condescending on, like, well, you wouldn't have been champion without me not being in the race. At the same time, I would have thought this guy would have grown and said, you know what, you're the champion. Obviously, at the end, they say, you're champion, I'm champion, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, he's giving his speech and saying, like, well, I finally walked away. But that's the only reason why you won. But then the other guy has to give the speech. You would think at this point they would have grown in the sense of, I understand why you raced. Because you put your life on the line in jeopardy, because he had gone through it, and he tried to explain to him, hey, racers have heart.
I think they did a fine job covering all that.
For me, though, I agree with Derek, because the thing is, there's a beauty of the competitiveness. That's why I go to these tournaments and all these things, is because, like, let's say something happens where, like, you go against somebody, and that person wins, and then or you win. There's just this sense of, like, fuck, I gotta be there. I gotta be on top.
This movie really captured that kind of feeling for you?
For me, yeah.
No, and I'm not taking away the competitiveness,
really
because that's what makes this movie good. This is why I like the movie. But what I'm trying to get at is the competitiveness is pushed to like 11. Like they're trying to make it.
Yeah, I do feel.
And I feel like in a racing thing,
yeah,
with the kind of stuff like the racing community and the people are. That's not fucking realistic.
But
it's not grounded.
But it's not grounded. But I'm saying, but we're grounding.
But it's not over the top either. I get what you're saying.
What I'm trying to say is, like, him being a playboy and going out and all these women and all that stuff. That shit's real. Yeah, and I believe that. And that's completely real shit. And then this other guy who wants just a normal life and shit. That's completely real. Mm-hmm. They're racing. The stuff that went on, the things that go on. That shit was real. Yeah. Like, no, and I'm saying, like, the way they're doing it, it's real. But then You know, even when he gets mad at the other guy and punches him, I go, that's what somebody would do. Like, all this stuff makes sense, except for, like I said, they had their stuff, and it's not even a bad thing. It's not even like, it's always, whenever I say something, you know, it always gets taken out of context, like I'm saying this is shit. And that's not even it. The reason that I can't, the reason I can say these things about this movie is because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Because if I didn't give a shit about this movie, there would be nothing for me to say other than, yeah, go ahead and watch it. It's cool. No, it's because this movie, I cared enough to say, hey, these are a few of the things that I saw that I want to throw in.
This is a good movie, and I want to talk about the things that are good more than the things that are bad. It feels like we've talked about more the things that you didn't like than the things we did.
I understand where both of you are coming from, but for me, it's just I'm kind of like a mixture of both of you. Because one, yes, I really do enjoy the story and like everything I said, everything that I enjoy about it. But that's the thing, I enjoy it so much that I can't ignore the problems with it because I feel like it has so much potential that if it was just something like the things about it were different and handled more with passion and care, it could have been so much. It could have been a great, fantastic movie, and it would have probably won something too.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. How it just didn't get it was nominated for absolutely 0 Academy Awards. Not for writing, not for cinematography, not for acting. Which, despite both performances being really fucking good.
Okay, well,
whatever. But
yeah,
but I think that's where we're delving on those things that we bring up. That you go, oh, you know, we're talking about the bad. It's not the bad. I think that's where we're going with. This is why we think that if those few, you know, if a few things got changed a little bit, it would probably send it over the top, and that's how we think. I would think that's why it's where it's at.
I'm not bashing it. I'm just.
But we're thinking, how could we improve it to make those awards?
If you made those changes, I don't think it would have made a difference for the Academy because the Academy doesn't like sports movies unless it's boxing.
I'm
really
not.
Yeah.
Well,
no, the Academy loves boxing sports movies. It doesn't give a fuck
Black
about
Panther.
Hollywood, prove us wrong.
No, but
this
really,
movie's very Hollywood, and that's the thing. I want that Hollywoodness to be gone. I want to tone down because if it's like such a great story with great actors.
Bait. Is that what you think it is? Like maybe it's striving for the Oscar.
A lot of
Oscar bait.
it feels.
I agree with that.
And I think that's where the drama comes from. That I feel like the drama's like it wants to be an Oscar-worthy movie.
But you know what though? I'm glad
instead of just being a normal movie.
You're glad
that
for
became
what?
an Oscar movie.
Let me hear Alan.
I'm glad that it's not fucking Oscar bait. I'm glad that it didn't get any nominations or anything like that because, I mean, it goes into the realm of what we're going for is underrated movies that like you watch and you go, fuck, that was really good. But at the same time though, when these movies do go for that Oscar bait kind of thing, it's just so cookie cutter in a certain way where you kind of go, yeah, I saw it, and then it has this like you watch it once and then you're like, okay, like Argo. I mean, obviously they're not anyway similar, but Argo, because I rarely actually go watch Oscar movies in theaters. I kind of just wait and I go, maybe I'll check it out. But like Argo, I actually saw it in theaters because it looked interesting. But when I walked out and then I found out, did it win Best Picture?
Yeah,
it won Best Picture. I was kind of like, yeah, the one time you watch it though. Because as soon as I finished it, I'm like, that's Oscar bait. It's probably going to win some awards. I would never watch that again. But with Rush though, even just talking about it, I'm like, fuck, I kind of want to go watch it again. Like for me, that's the essence. Because, okay, how many times have you gone back and watched The Artist?
0.
Fucking never.
0 times.
I saw it and I was like, cool, that's all I needed to see. The beauty about films that you really actually love and you appreciate is that you can go back and watch them again. Ernest, Speed Racer, fucking all of the movies that we've talked about. Like, you can't tell me that you won't go back and be like, yeah, I want to watch it again.
I will say that I will not watch. There's a few movies that I will watch again, and there's a few movies that I will not.
I'm not saying all of them.
No.
But I'm saying,
I watch
like,
this movie over and over. I love this movie.
You know,
I physically can't because
I can't.
It's just
I saw it once. It was a good story. I liked it, and I'll be honest, that's it for them.
Yeah, that's just where we differ.
Reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, for his reason, it's more of a technical reason. He's
no. It's technical.
It's this thing. It's they wanted to be an Oscar-worthy movie. It was shooting for that, but at the same time, it was still shooting for being kind of like its own independent self, and it just kind of blurred these lines in the middle, and I think that's where I'm going.
And in doing so, it
was neither here nor there.
American audiences don't really care about European race car driving. Like that's why it did actually okay internationally at the box office, but it did not.
You know what? You would be surprised though, because racing movies do pull out.
Yeah,
not like IndyCar, like European racing.
A good any type of racing movie is a good excuse for a car guy to go watch a movie. That's why I'm surprised that it didn't do better.
So
Because like look at Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious has not much. No, hang on.
That's a different kind of movie.
Hang on. It has not much to do, is what I'm trying to say, with motorsports. But just because it has cars, a lot of car guys still go, well, it's not my typical movie, but I don't get to see such detail of cars and such stuff. There's drifters. There's all these people that this movie could probably be a movie that you want to watch. But like I said, it is a little downplayed in the kind of motorsporty kind of stuff.
But that's the thing. That in that case, it's not really about the cars. That's the sport.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But it's really about what is going on. And in that case, then I would say, if that was really the case of this movie, I would say yes, this is underrated. But it's not, because this is one of those movies where I feel like it got its reputation because that's what it got. What it did. Well, a lot of people don't see it because they mistake it for something what it looks like. I mean, it's called Rush. It has all these. It has Chris Hemsworth in it.
I thought it was Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
Oh, I thought it was the bicycle one.
Oh,
because there's like a bicycle one with
Joseph
Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, that one. I was like, you're like, let's watch Rush, and I was like, the bicycle one.
No, that's Premium
I'll watch
Rush.
Inception again if you want.
No, it's called Premium Rush.
Oh wait, there's another bicycle
I'd rather
one
watch
called Quicksilver.
Yeah, but so going off of what Fred said and what Derek said of American audiences not really being interested in a car movie, we're actually going to be one of the reasons why we're reviewing Rush around this time is because of the upcoming other movie that involves Ferrari, Ford versus Ferrari, that's coming up with my guy Christian Bale, who we discussed in our previous podcast. Yeah. So I guess time will tell if that trend is going to follow with this upcoming movie.
Well, can I give a prediction in a set real fast?
Yeah.
Because I do think that one will do better because that one is that one has the American tint. It has Ford. Ford is American.
Well,
it's about Ford, this American
I
thing
don't think
Ferrari,
that it's going to do better in the American market just because it has an American car
No, because
brand.
this is
people
very European.
Aren't that because people are wanting to fulfill their patriotic fervor of an American company beating an Italian company.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I do think so. That's
but
what
also
the average moviegoer will think.
The Ford versus Ferrari is it going to take place during it's Ford breaking into the European racing, and so we'll see how that goes.
Here's my thing: does it have anything to do with like the Shelby and Ford?
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, then you're gonna have everybody go watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's just an American car, okay? But it's the story. If they follow along this, and I'll tell you this: if they follow along the story of the car maker, which is interesting already, because car guys will watch like. The history of Ford and all this stuff. If it carries a lot of history in it about how Ford and Shelby made the Mustang, or let's say whatever vehicle they're going to do to race. I don't know which one they're deciding is going to be their main one, but let's just say it goes with the inner workings and the design and the ideas and that stuff. People already watch that in YouTube videos and in stuff at home through like motorsports channels. So they'll damn watch that shit in the movie.
Yeah,
with better looking stuff.
I agree with that. So then if that's already out of the table in terms of the domestic market for Rush, then why did they waste their time trying to make it so appealing to such a mass audience in the way that I felt like they did with this movie, when they could have just said, no, let's just do it the best way possible that we can make this movie. If already the domestic market's not going to watch this movie as much, we could do, but it's not.
I think it was, like I said, I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie.
I think you're being too hard on it, Sergio.
Well, I mean, Derek,
I respect your opinion, but like I thought it was. I didn't see it like as being Oscar bait or anything like that.
No, I'm being hard on it because I do think it's a good movie, but I felt like it could have been a great movie. That's why I'm being hard.
No,
I mean, there's no question, Derek, that it is. You do like. I mean, there's no question that you do like it, Derek, because it's your pick, and of course you're gonna have no rebuttals. That's why we bring our choices into this realm of our podcast, is because you're gonna be the one that's gonna be.
I just gotta stand up for it,
Yeah, but you don't need to stand up for it because
like
we
this.
are
just like when we do any
we
other
all
movie.
have different levels of enjoyment
Yeah,
and
I think it's
and
just
our
all
enjoyment
we're all getting
is
that out there.
Yeah, but I mean,
Including me.
like we don't rebuttal each other's. But I mean, we respect it.
No, I respect your guys' opinions. I just want to,
I think
put it out there.
you know what's funny? I think about this movie is that I feel like it's getting that competitiveness into everybody.
That's good.
in a certain way. I think everybody's going, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's
find
true,
it this
'cause it
way.
did
I
make-
kinda
it
like
did-
this.
This
Yeah.
is what
In
I
a way.
think. I think
It did give me like a bit of passion about it, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
What I
that's
think
the
is
thing
that
people
people
Maybe
don't-
that's the true spirit about the film. Is that I don't know. Maybe for me, because I
Well-
saw that spirit right away. For me, the spirit of the movie is that competitiveness and that rivalry. Because I love competing against other people, and I love trying to.
If
be
that
one
were
on
the
top.
case, then for me at least, then I would be praising the movie more because then that's something that I would have gone for.
But again, it just depends on how
And
you feel
I
about
think
it.
that's why I liked it a lot because I did love that this complex story of competitiveness when it comes down to it.
What I enjoyed was the end when they finally came together. When they actually said, "Hey, you know what? We're not
And
enemies." The
yeah.
damn enemies part was, I think, that fucked me
That-
up the most.
But
I'm
yeah.
like, they're
I think-
rivals.
I think
they're
it's the-
fucking rivals,
I
not
think it's
enemies.
the
Enemies.
wrestler-
If I hate the
it's the
fucking
wrestler
enemy,
agenda.
I'm not gonna want to be their friend
But
at
I
the end of
think
it.
that
But
was-
a rival, my rival, I can respect my rival at the
Yeah,
end of the
exactly.
day, and I can be friends with my rival. When it's all said and done, when we're done with our career or whatever, me and the rival can be friends.
And yeah, Niki even said that was the only person that he really truly respected.
respected.
And that actually, yeah, I'm really glad that I got to see these characters
Yeah.
grow and
Because I'll tell you this: if it was missing
Yeah.
that part, if that part were missing at all,
then
I'll be
it would be no
100%.
point.
I wouldn't like
so
the movie
I'm
at
so
all.
yeah, you're right. I totally agree.
If that
with
if
you
that
on
one part at the end
part.
where they voice over where he explains everything, where he goes, you know what, he was the one guy I respected, and this is how the way I saw it, and we were actually friends. And then you seeing the pictures and seeing the stuff.
Yeah,
If that one thing wasn't there, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but I'm just
that
saying.
gives some resolution.
That
and
gives
it
some
makes that
resolution.
movie-
That was a
It
great-
makes it
yeah,
feel
it was a
Yeah,
great
it
but
makes
if that
you
part,
as
if
an
that part
audience
was
feel so
yeah.
good.
because you realize they weren't enemies, they were rivals, because that's what the fucking were from the beginning.
Yeah,
I just
they
don't like. I just don't like the word enemy. If they wouldn't have used the
I
word
thi-
enemy,
yeah,
I could have
that's
seen.
what I was saying.
I can see
That's what I was
rivalries.
saying.
Rivalries get very competitive. Rivalry will push you to the ends of the earth to fucking beat the other guy. A rivalry will do that. An enemy, you just want to see them burn and die. And I didn't see that.
So it comes down to the word, the mistaken word of enemy versus
Honestly, I don't
rival.
even remember them saying enemies too much. in
No,
the movie.
they
You know-
said
no,
enemy
you know what it
because
is,
Niki.
though?
Wait. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So Niki Lauda's really great line at the end is that, you know what the doctors told me when I was getting the vacuum is it's not a bad thing to have an enemy.
right.
And he uses the word enemy,
And then
unfortunately,
I
which
was
he
like,
should have
ugh.
used rival
Yeah.
because enemy is like
Yeah.
a strong word.
Yeah, enemy is somebody I hate.
So,
So it's just a
instead of
semantic thing.
but it kind of like
It may
gives
be
it such a
semantics, but
strong
in a movie
word.
that invokes a lot of things, semantics do count.
Yeah.
For
His
me-
but sorry.
Oh, no,
So
go ahead.
finish the quote. It's not a bad thing to have an enemy. It's actually a good thing because it pushes you. But yeah. So yeah.
For
But
me,
no, I think
I just consider it like wrestler drama. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Like when people, because like the thing is,
not in the literal sense.
no,
but
like the thing is like when you hear
Like how it's very showy.
it's very
yeah.
showy, and I love the show.
See,
I
but-
love the fucking like, yeah, they're fucking.
That's why I
enemy.
really
No, wait, hang on.
appreciate
And he'll
that
make
thing
the
at
other
the
guy eat
end.
shit
No,
and
but
all
I
that
don't.
stuff.
I don't want to. I don't want to disagree with you there. I don't want to disagree with the showing. But in wrestling, we all know it's part of the show.
No, yeah,
But
I know,
this
but-
here
but it
was
has
supposed
to
to
be-
be real.
That's
No, this
true.
was me to you.
No,
being like racer to racer, like. Being an enemy, being a rival is one thing. Like,
Which is
bro, I'm
why-
gonna beat you down the street.
which
It's
is-
just like when you
yeah.
fight the fighting guy. But if you were to say the guy fighting next to you playing Dragon Ball Z is my enemy, it wouldn't be this.
No,
this,
no. What I'm trying to get at is like it's more of the. It's for the show for the audience of like because you remember we're watching it because it already happened.
Yeah.
It's already happened and all that stuff. My thing is like you want to build that drama. You want to build that like thing because like yeah maybe at the end of the day I don't remember them really throwing enemies a lot. I remember hearing the quotes, but I think what they're trying to what the movie was trying to get at was like they're rivals. They respected each other, but the people watching those races, they love knowing that they're the enemies. They
Yeah.
love that
I
they're
don't
like.
think.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Well, I
no,
Like
but that's the thing. That was behind the scenes. I really doubt people because they made good faces even when they were doing the stuff. They were trying to make jokes on each other when they were. But
Oh,
they
yeah, of course.
This was all behind. What we were watching was them behind their veil of being racers. This was what they saw when they were at the pit, when they were next to each other. This is the stuff that isn't privy to a guy who's up there in the stands watching. The guy in the stands sees the guy racing and then sees that whatever report or whatever they say out
It's
later.
like propaganda. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like they're trying to move the show. Like everyone, everyone has a part
racing,
in
but
a
like
way.
racing is different, and it's like basketball. You don't go outside and trash talk everybody
Oh, no,
when
no,
you
yeah,
do press.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
It's
but
not
I'm
like
saying-
wrestling. This was all behind the scenes.
No,
this
I'm
was
not
like
saying
this is supposed to be
specifically
like
for
real,
wrestling.
like me and you, like. I don't like you, or we're fighting, or something. We'll know in the back, but in the front, we got to go put up a good show because guess
Exactly.
what? We're
Yeah.
formula drivers. We have a certain respect and a certain thing. So in person, when the cameras are on, and they're like, "Well, how did your race go?" Well, I respected his racing. His racing was good. He was this or that, right? To me, to you, Derek. Let's just say,
Yeah,
But
but-
outside in the pit, I'll be like, "Hey, fuck you! You hit me with your fucking tire, and you almost fucking made me crash. I'm gonna kick the shit out of you." Like that stuff happens in the back. That doesn't happen in the front where everybody can see it.
But sometimes it does happen on the other way around too.
But
I'm
I
not
think-
saying specifically
But-
to racing.
I think we're going in circles.
Yeah, we're just
Yeah, okay.
So
We're going in circles
Much
just like the
yeah.
characters in the film
Yeah.
Rush. But okay, guys, this is a great dive into the movie. I really like this a lot. Everybody got really competitive.
Yeah, and I
about
think
it.
Fred, you bring an interesting. You do have this unique racing opinion. Because you being in that world, and I think it both like gives you a certain unique view, but also like you do have like just the way that I watched a tennis movie or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it differently
Than everybody else. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I think you were coming at it like, oh, I understand this and this and this that might not be what the intention was for the general audience.
Right.
But yeah, that was a great discussion. I think we did a good dive into it. But yeah, I just want to say thanks everybody for listening out there. We are the Undercast Company. Thank you. Go ahead and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. I've been Derek McDuff. We've got Ariel and Sergio Ortiz,
Hello.
Alan and Fred Torres.
Hey.
And remember, guys, we've got a couple other podcast things going on. We've got District 6, which covers kind of gaming and stuff like that.
anime tag stuff like that.
We've got
Sorry, safety.
whoops,
Whoops.
Nerding
something.
Corp
I
over
ate,
here.
I ate some pizza.
We cover GC comic shows and nerdum and conventions and all that jazz.
And then, of course, also check out my Marvel podcast that we do. It's called Infinity Stones Dragon Bones about the MCU. But thanks again, guys, for listening. And remember to subscribe and give us some likes or whatever. Follow us on Facebook.
Later, everybody.
Thanks
Later,
for being
everybody. And
amazing.
See you in another life, brother.
we appreciate everybody. Again, like we get really heated in these arguments and stuff like that, but we all really care about each other.
We're all
And
friends.
we all have
love each
fun,
other.
and we have a great time. Just we get heated, and that's that's the thing. Yeah, it's all rivalries and competitiveness, but we love hanging out with each other.
We
We
are
love doing these things
rivals,
for you
not
guys.
enemies.
Stuff coming soon.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for listening. We appreciate it.
Right.